Deputy Alan Barres was on his day off. People say deputies are off duty. Deputies, troopers, city policemen, you never off duty. You might be on your day off. This is a perfect example. Our policemen always dedicate and ready to sacrifice their life to help other families. Deputy Alan Barres left behind his parents, his wife, and 2 children doing what he loved. Being Deputy Barres was a deputy with the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office, we decided to call state police in to investigate this incident. State police, FBI, DEA, Marshal's Office, police departments throughout the state came and assisted us. Within an hour and a half, you had 200 to 300 people, police officers, on the ground willing to help. At this point in time, I'd like to turn this over to State Police Trooper Hammond.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. What the Sheriff said is very true. The deputy was on his day off, not off duty. At all times, the police officer is expected to step up, do the right thing, no matter what the incident is. Yesterday, at 4 o'clock, we were contacted by the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office and requested to investigate an officer-involved shooting and the loss of Deputy Barres. Deputy Barres was on his day off near the intersection of Hospital and Cougar Drive, just outside of Abbeville. He noticed something suspicious there. When he noticed that, Deputy Barres stepped up and contacted the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office and requested that they send deputies to his location to investigate this incident. When the deputies arrived at the scene, they located Deputy Barres, who had been shot multiple times. The deputies noticed that his vehicle was no longer there. His personal truck had been taken by the suspects. Immediately, area law enforcement agencies were notified of this, and a search began for that vehicle and these suspects. Troopers, deputies, police officers, multiple local agencies, including federal agencies, began searching for this vehicle. And a short time later, it was located in South Abbeville. Deputies from all over, and police officers, began setting up a perimeter on the south side of Abbeville, began looking for these suspects. The search went into the night. It took several man-hours to try and locate these individuals. Early in the night, 19-year-old Balin Taylor was contacted by Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office. They were able to talk him into turning himself in, which he did. As the night progressed, and with the assistance of not only all the agencies that are here, but to include the United States Marshal's Office, it was learned that the second suspect, 20-year-old Quintillan Richard, was located in Kaplan and was subsequently taken into custody. Now, when the 2 individuals were brought into custody, there were a few other things that detectives were able to learn. One of those things is that just prior to Deputy Barres being shot, the 2 individuals were involved in a burglary at a house located on South Hospital Drive. Where, from the suspect's own admission, Deputy Barres identified himself as a police officer to the suspects prior to him being shot. He was transported to the Abbeville General Hospital, where he later died as a result of his injuries. Both Taylor and Richard have been booked into the Vermilion Parish Jail for first-degree murder, unauthorized use of a movable, as well as burglary. This is a case that is going to be very in-depth and very thorough, and we understand that there are a lot of questions that are out there that you have, a lot of questions that you're looking for answers for, but questions that we're also looking for answers for. It's important that we make sure that we maintain the integrity of this case, that we put together a good case for the District Attorney's Office to be able to successfully prosecute these individuals for the crimes that they have committed. We'll open it up now for any questions that you may have.
What was he shot with, Steve?
He was shot with a handgun.
Besides, you know,
Right now, to get into really the caliber and things like that, it's going to be the nature of our investigation there, but it was a handgun.
was it one they owned, or did they take it from somewhere?
The nature of where they got it from is one of those key elements in there that we're still trying to look into. There's another part to it as well. There was a crashed vehicle that was at the scene. How that vehicle crashed and its involvement with this incident is another part that our investigators are looking into. So certainly still a lot of questions here as we're still in our initial stages. Yes, sir.
The suspicious activity that led the deputy to call in originally, was that the burglary or was there something else?
Yeah, that's very possible that it was the burglary. As far as, what their involvement was, there's still a lot of things that we're going to work out to try and find out, not only from these individuals, but also from any potential witnesses in this area as we begin to put together a timeline. As you look at last night, you look at the perimeter that was set up, certainly an inconvenience to those people that live in South Abbeville, and we understand that. And our number one concern is always public safety. Last night and into early morning hours here, we were actually dealing with two scenes. So what we're dealing with is the actual, or three scenes essentially, the burglary, the area where the shooting took place, but also the area in looking for these individuals. So a lot of moving parts that were going on yesterday, very fluid situation, something that we're still trying to get some answers to. Other questions?
Balin turned himself in. The second suspect, did Balin lead you guys to him, or how did the second person?
We were able to develop some more information that led us to his possible whereabouts. As far as what exactly that information was and how we obtained it is going to be a part of that investigation. Again, it goes back to that integrity of this case, making sure that we do everything we can to really get this case put together successfully for the district attorney's office. But certainly, those events led to us being able to head out there.
Okay, so is it safe to say Balin turned himself in and y'all went and got the second suspect?
Safe to say that he turned himself in, and a short time thereafter, the second suspect was apprehended in Kaplan with the assistance of several agencies, including the U.S. Marshal's Office. Other questions? Yes?
Now, did they know he was in law enforcement? Had they ever had any run-ins with him before?
As far as the suspect's involvement with him, past involvement, that's something that we're looking into. But what I can tell you, the thing that is fact that we do know from the suspect's own admission is the fact that he identified himself as a police officer. And just to kind of clear that up, as the sheriff said, we might have a day off. But even when you're off, if you identify yourself as a police officer, at that point, it doesn't matter if you're wearing a uniform or not, you are acting as a police officer under the color of law. Other questions?
How do you know who was the shooter?
Some different tests that we're able to do, also through the interrogation that we're conducting with these individuals, and some facts of events that transpired there.
So Mr. Richard shot knowing he was shooting at a policeman?
That is the information that we have. That is correct.
Did Mr. Richard recently get released from prison? Because he was sentenced to 3 years of hard labor in September, which was retro to February 2013. Sentenced to 3 years of hard labor. How was he out?
Really, I'm not too sure about his criminal history, where he was before, what sentences he may have had to serve. Certainly some information may be able to be forthcoming through our investigation. Maybe some things you'll be able to look into clerk of courts.
That's where I got it.
Okay. Other questions? Yes.
Are there any details of any altercations that led to the shooting?
Meaning?
Or did they shoot upon hearing he was an officer, or was there an altercation? Did they speak? Did they try to run?
From the information that we have right now is that after he identified himself as a police officer and a shooting took place. That's the best that we can say right now with certainty. There's a lot of speculation. There'll be a lot of rumors that are involved, certainly with situations like this. We're not going to go off of rumor. We're going to deal with fact. We're going to make sure that what we put out is factual, that it is accurate, and that's one of the reasons why when you look at a case such as this, when you have so many questions, that we make sure the information that we're putting out is factual and it is accurate. Other questions?
One more.
Yes.
The deputy had a side business mowing lawns. Was the burgled house, was that one of the places he was doing
No,
the job?
the residence where the burglary was taking place was in sight of where he was mowing the lawn at, but to say that he was actually at that residence.
But did he, any indication that he saw him and he got off and?
What transpired up to him actually making contact with him is a little difficult to say right now.
Okay.
Other questions?
Are both suspects involved in the actual shooting?
Yes, both suspects are charged with first-degree murder. Both of them are charged. And this is another important part to point out, that this is a case which still remains very much so under investigation. Additional arrests are expected. We are going to continue working in this case. Certainly, there's information that we have to follow up on. There are evidence that we need to gather before we can continue.
Graham, how long did the deputy work at the department?
12 years.
What kind of officer was he?
He was a fine officer, kind-hearted, caring, and very spiritual as an individual.
It's times like this where you look at the men and women standing up here today, and you truly understand what it is to be in law enforcement. This is a brotherhood. This is a sisterhood. It's a family. Colonel Mike Edmondson, the superintendent for state police, always says, it doesn't matter about the shape of your badge or the color of your uniform. When somebody calls 911, they just want to know that a police officer is coming. This is a case where one of our own was involved. And it didn't matter about the shape of his badge or the color of his uniform. We were coming. This is something to us that we want to make sure is a case which is resolved successfully and safely, with the individuals involved being brought into custody peacefully. And that's what happened.
Any information about his family?
The deputy's family?
Well, I mean, the details, where he'll be laid to rest. You guys got anything on that?
Not at this point. I discussed it with his wife this morning. They're still making arrangements.
What are the ages of his children?
I'd rather not go into that right now, but thank you.
Any other final questions? Yes.
I know you've emphasized pretty often that, once a law enforcement officer's on duty, he's on duty all the time, but does the fact that he wasn't technically on the clock complicate the decision to charge a capital crime?
No, not the least bit, because again, it goes back to the color of law. So, for an example, any one of these police officers, sheriff's deputies, federal agents standing up here today, if they were on their day off and saw an incident taking place, as soon as you walk up and identify yourself as a police officer, under the color of laws is the way it's referred to, you become an on-duty police officer. And you are on duty as such until that incident is over with. So it doesn't matter whether or not he's actually on the clock or anything else. Once that determination is made, you are on duty.